Hi, I'm Julie from Cultures for Health. Today I'm going to show you how to make kombucha at home. Kombucha is one of the easiest cultured foods to make. There's only 5 simple ingredients, so let's get started. First, we'll talk about ingredients. You'll need 2 to 3 cups of hot water. Now, we recommend using water that doesn't have chlorine or fluoride. You can even use distilled water for this project. You'll also need 1/4 cup of white sugar, 2 black tea bags, or if you prefer to use loose tea, you can use 1½ teaspoons of black tea. You'll need an acidic liquid. You can use kombucha tea from a previous batch, or you can use distilled white vinegar. Definitely refer to the instructions that came in your box to determine which might be best for you. And then finally, you're going to need a starter culture, which is also known as a SCOBY. That stands for Symbiotic Colony of Bacteria and Yeast. Now, if you just received your culture from us, it's in a dried state and it needs to be activated. If that's the case, be sure to check out our activation video before you start making kombucha. But otherwise, if your SCOBY is activated and you have your ingredients on hand, we're ready to go. First, we need to make sweet tea. So we're going to take that 1/4 cup of white sugar poured into the jar. I'm just using a standard quart-sized glass jar here. Next, we want to add hot water. Doesn't need to be boiling, but it does need to be hot enough to dissolve the sugar and steep the tea. I'm going to go ahead and give this a little stir and get that sugar dissolved before we put the tea in. Now, the ingredients I'm talking about today are our best recommendations for the most reliable batch of kombucha. It is tempting to experiment, to pick out new sugars or new teas you want to try. For now, go ahead and just stick to the recipe. All right, so that's all dissolved. Go ahead and grab our 2 black tea bags. Put those in. Now you want to let this tea steep for about 10 minutes and then pull the tea bags back out. Once you've done that, you want to let the entire mixture cool down to room temperature. That's very important for the safety of the starter culture. Now that your sweet tea has had a chance to cool down, I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of starter tea. This is just kombucha from a previous batch. And then we need to add our kombucha SCOBY. So go ahead and get this guy into the jar. Okay, and now we need to cover the jar. I like using these paper coffee filters. They're very handy. If you don't have one of these at home, don't worry, you can use a fine weave dish towel. Works great too. Go ahead and grab a tight rubber band and get that secured. You want to keep all those fruit flies and ants out during the culturing process. Now, an extra step you can take is to put some distilled white vinegar into a spray bottle and just spritz the top of the jar. This is a great barrier against airborne mold if that happens to be an issue where you live. Now you need to go ahead and find a nice warm spot in your house out of direct sunlight and let this jar sit undisturbed for 7 to 30 days. Now during that 7 to 30 day period, here are a few things to keep in mind. First, the kombucha SCOBY may not change in appearance at all during the culturing process, and that's okay. Also, if you see a cloudy formation on the top of the liquid, that generally indicates a baby SCOBY is forming, and that's perfectly normal. Many times a baby SCOBY won't form, and that's also a normal batch of kombucha. Now, everyone has different ideas of what tastes good in terms of kombucha, so at day 7, we generally recommend starting to taste it. Just use a straw to take a little taste, and then at whatever point it tastes good to you, you can stop the culturing process by removing the starter culture and using it to start a new batch of kombucha. With the kombucha you've made, you can drink it plain or you can flavor it. We have lots of great ideas on our website at culturesforhealth.com and even videos showing you how to make delicious flavored kombucha teas. Now don't forget to save some of this batch for making that next batch. You'll need that starter tea. Happy kombucha making. You can do this with Cultures for Health.